Anybody ever fall in love again? So, it's a short fuse, but What's up, everybody? How you doing? It's Mike Watson, and we're back for another exciting episode of Chat and Draw. I'm the publisher of Short Fuse Media Group. I am the founder of Freestyle Comics. I am also one half of the Good, the Bad, and the Nerdy, also known as the Super Mad Brother. But some of us really come to enjoy me as the most enthusiastic person in comics. Hope everyone's doing good on this special Saturday edition of Chat and Draw. I want to thank everyone that has been tuning into the show, watching the show, sharing the show, and everyone that's been featured guest on the show. It has been going great. Very, very excited about the attention and the audience that we are building with Chat and Draw. Chat and Draw is a show that I sit down with another creator who has created characters in comic books and that type of thing. And I draw their character for them live while we chat and discuss their character, their IP, their book, basically shooting the crap while I'm drawing their character. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different as our guest that appears here actually got two characters done. And so this will be the first time I did some prep work where I actually drew out the sketch first because I'll be spending most of the time inking, discussing the process, how I went off on these characters or whatnot for our guests. And we're going to get ready. Oh, also, please be sure to share this show out right now. Let's get this out to as many people on Saturday morning. Nobody's doing anything. You can't go anywhere because you're quarantined. So you might as well sit here and chill out with me and my special guest today because it's going to be a great day, a great fun day for comics, geekdom, and art. And without further ado,
here comes a new challenger!
We have Richard Ruffin, everybody. Richard, how you doing? Can you hear me, Richard? Hey, Richard, can you hear us?
I can't. Can you hear me now? I can't hear you.
Yes. Awesome. All right. So we got Richard, who is the creator of two characters that we're going to be drawing today. And I'm going to let Richard go ahead and give us the elevator pitch about these two characters. Can you hear us?
Paul and Emerald are two characters featured in my Minority Myths universe, and they are residents of a community I call the Spot. So I'm just super excited to see Mike flesh them out.
All right. So we got two characters for this edition of Chat and Draw, and Danny J. Quick, yes, excuse me, we've got a Saturday edition of Chat and Draw. Oh, Danny J. Quick says, "What's up, Richard?" So does Shaggy. All right, here we go. Let me just make sure I got everything set up here. All right, so because we had two characters to draw for this episode, I went ahead and prepped the canvas and laid out the characters already. So we're going to introduce you to Emerald and our secondary character. So, Richard, well, what do you think of the layout of these characters right now? I think you're saying is, hold on, I think we're just having some sound. issues. Gotta go a bit old school.
So yes, I love the layout. I love the layout. Oh yes, I see old Emerald there.
All right, do me a favor and talk about Emerald and who she is.
Oh yeah.
Apologize for the technical issues. For whatever reason, Richard can't hear me when I'm telling him so. So I'm trying to type questions to him.
Yeah, so I
Uh,
created Emerald from the concept of an emerald cockroach wasp.
I'm gonna ask him another question here. This is complicated. What characters can you compare or inspire your characters by?
Emerald is a survivor, man. She's been through a whole lot. So my perception of Emerald is that she's a born again queen, and she has one mission, and that's to produce as many emerald wasps as possible. And so she's out to just take vengeance on anyone who preys upon women.
Mm,
She came to mind after I finished up a course on human trafficking, and
okay.
human trafficking is not discussed to a level that I would like to be in an urban setting. So I just wanted to write and create something to put out there.
Human trafficking is a very serious issue. We're gonna work through this as best as we can. Yes, Paige, I got your request. You are added to the queue.
Thank you guys for joining me today.
Mm. I've been doing that lately. I've been making a mistake of inking on the layer that I'm drawing on. So let me do this again.
The funny thing about Emerald, whenever I share the script and her background, people's perception of her is that she's a villain. But I am careful to write my characters either as a villain or as a hero. I like to keep the characters in the point of view of the reader.
Thanks, Danny. Why do people think that she's a villain?
I think most people view her as a villain due to the way she finishes off her victims, if you can call them victims, and just I guess her makeup as a wasp. Wasps are known in nature to be aggressive, so that's probably why most people view her as a villain after reading her concept. She finishes her offenders off in a way that a natural emerald wasp would with a cockroach. She basically seduces them, paralyzes them, and then lays a larvae inside their bodies. And a day or so later, I'm sorry, the larvae hatches, killing the victim.
Mm, that's crazy. Not messing with this girl. So will she find love?
So in fact, I really sympathize with this character.
Is there a relationship for her in the future?
Unfortunately, she would not find love. She experiments what we call urban bonding, where she was passed around quite a while. Her last experience, I don't want to give too much of the story, but her last experience caused her transformation. So unfortunately, love is out the window with Emerald. She has one mission, and that's to clear the spot of roaches,
Mm.
which is a
What
term we use for lower class dudes in the hood.
what brought you to create this character? What was the spark?
I created Emerald due to just listening to a lot of my friend girls and the experiences they had, trying to find love and many of the traumatic experience they have. I have friend girls that have been raped. I have a couple friend girls that have been killed, and their homicides are still unsolved. So this character was born out of, empathy and hurt. And like I
All right.
mentioned earlier, I attended a couple classes on human trafficking, and black girls are tragically underrepresented when it comes to that issue of sex trafficking. So I just wanted a character who's out there, seeking vengeance on anyone who preys upon young women.
That's pretty powerful.
Right now, for Minority Myths, I have 4 issues. In each issue, I'm introducing a new character that resides in a spot. So Emerald is just one of the dynamic characters that resides in this community. I call it the spot, which is more of an environmental villain. I'm a big fan of environmental villains.
Why are you a big fan of environmental villains?
I would compare Emerald to Cheetah from the DC comic universe because I think Cheetah is another misunderstood character. I don't think she gets the deal of respect that I think she should because she's a foe of Wonder Woman. So when you have anti-heroes that contrast against popular heroes, they are usually viewed as underclass sidekicks or villains. But I think characters like Emerald is definitely needed.
Apologies for the delay. I'm typing him questions as we're going for the reason he can't hear me.
I think she can hang with the best of mainstream heroes.
How did you get into writing and creating characters?
Well, I've been writing for a while now, and I would say Saturday cartoons got me into what I like to call storyboarding, because that's my real interest. I like to build stories. So cartoon shows like the X-Men, DC Wildcats, that was short-lived, but that was one of my favorite Saturday animations. So when I write with with all my experiences in mind, and with different influences from different genres, whether it's horror, mystery, comedy, and I try to interpret those experiences through my writing. Man, that is like super fly. That is super fly.
Thank you.
Great question, Shaggy. So with the thing about Emerald, I tried to balance her. I didn't want her just going out there looking for predators. More so, she gives the illusion that she's weak, and so she's preyed upon. Because I don't think her story will work if she just goes out there and seek vengeance. Though she may be a bit sadistic in nature because she does feign weakness in order to attract those predators. How you doing, Danny? Thanks for joining us, Morgan. Well, for Minority Miss, right now I have 4 to 5 issues, and each chapter introduces a new citizen of the spot.
So I figured when I was drawing up this character, as she's more, I figured she'd be more urban and military-ish, coming from the spot where you were talking about, like that actual name of it is the spot. I figured that while she still had these powers, she would still wear some type of fatigue, bulletproof vest. I still figured she would still rock something like that. Uh, Number one, it looks cool, and I didn't think she would have like an
And the great
actual.
thing about each character featured in Minority Mist that they can stand on their own. And yes, Shaq, I totally agree. Sex trafficking in inner city communities, we don't get enough attention. We're losing many of our girls and boys. Yes, that's a fact. Man, that's just terrific. And I think the spot is unique because it's just a crazy environmental conundrum where the physical environment is just as dynamic as the supernatural forces that reside there. I am a big fan of environmental villains, such as the Indian Graveyard and Pat Cemetery.
All right. Hey Andy or Morgan or Danny, if you're still watching, can you guys hear me? Put in the comments whether you can hear me or not. I don't know if you guys can hear me or not. Richard couldn't hear me, so I think we're running into a little bit of a tech issue. trying to see if you. Oh, okay. So you guys can hear me. So let me see if I can get him back invited in here so he can hear me. I'm very interested in these characters. And the typing and drawing is not working. It does not help that my computer is moving slow. So let's see if that helps. So this is a whole new world that we got here, where Richard has gotten the character designs of this done and got it done put to be done on the show. So this is all like new territory. But these were extremely fun to do and decorate and design. Um, I really had a lot of fun making these characters. Richard can see your questions. He has been answering your questions while the live stream is going. He just can't hear me for whatever reason. I like the character descriptions that he sent us to work with on these characters. He sent us just enough information um, for me to make the characters, and hopefully he still likes the designs, which he has stated that he has. Um, but a lot of fun I had designing both these women. I'm very big when making these characters. Let's see here. Richard's back.
Yes,
Hey,
sir.
Richard, what's up? Can you hear me?
Yes,
All
yes,
right,
sir.
there we
Much
go.
better.
All right. So, Richard, I know I heard you saying that you like the way the characters look or whatnot so far. I'm just working on Emerald. Um, but I feel like the information, like I was telling everybody, this is a different type of episode because you got character designs and we're drawing them at the same time or whatnot.
Mhm.
But you're pretty happy with how like this is coming out though. Like I was saying, I gave her a bulletproof vest to wear or whatnot. I figured she really wouldn't wear any other armor because she has those claws that you said were retractable coming out of her hands and stuff.
Mhm.
So like
Oh
how?
yes. Oh yeah. They look terrific.
So oh, go ahead, go ahead.
Yes, they look terrific. And she would have to wear a bulletproof vest, especially residing in a spot, because she doesn't have any special abilities to ward off man-made weapons or anything. Most of her abilities are mystical, so she can be killed with man-made weapons.
See, that's what I figured. I didn't hear you say anything about that in your description. Um, while it's mystical and it has magic aspects or whatnot, I figured there would still be some type of grounded reality with her being in the spot where you're saying
Yes.
she's dealing with people with guns and urban violence and things like that or whatnot. I'm probably using that word wrong, but criminals and the underbelly of crime with guns and drugs. I figured she would still need to be tactile in that aspect.
Yes, sir. Because
Yes.
Minority Myths is basically, and in my view, The Wire meets Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah. All right. So Andy says, okay, I heard him answer some of the questions, but I haven't been able to see anyone else's comments. Um, Andy, yeah, there. I think Andy, you're watching on YouTube, and everyone else is on the short fuse page watching. Who was watching? Um, so let's all right. Let's get back into this. Um, excuse me. Uh, so I really dig Emerald. I think it's funny you have a character named Emerald. That finger's too small. I think it's funny you have a character named Emerald. I have a book called Emerald Quest myself.
Oh wow. Okay, I have
Yeah,
to check that out.
and it's about about a character who is a young black female as well, but her name is Marky, and she doesn't realize she is a reborn savior, and with her power, she'll be able to reset the world, whether that be in a good light or a bad light. She's unaware of that, but she's going to discover that as we go on through the story.
Right. And that's my approach with Emerald, and that's why I'm careful not to label my characters as villains or heroes, and
Hmm.
leave it up to the point of view of the readers. Because growing up, I heard a old adage that say, a hero in your home may be a villain to everyone else outside of your home. And I may have heroes in my area that I consider a good guy, but down the street he's considered a monster. So that's what I wanted to bring into the concept of creating Emerald.
Okay, that's cool. I've never thought about things from that perspective. Um, that's almost like the Punisher. Some people can see the Punisher as a good guy, while uh, other people see him as a complete villain.
Right.
But I do, which I didn't really get to comment on because we're having the tech issues, and I was really uh, trying to keep you answering questions. But I really dig the focus of the story about her being someone who was caught in trafficking, captured and kidnapped, and now is trying to remedy that issue
Right.
and using herself as bait and playing the victim, and then she comes out to be like this killer ass wasp lady. I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, so I definitely wanted to, make sure I added those sci-fi, elements, but make her as close to nature as possible, just to have a
Hmm.
primal. She's very weak, but she's also very primal at the same time, and just paralyzing, predators, and then injecting larvae in their body, and having live larvae just rip out your body. So
Doesn't
her
sound fun.
go ahead.
Does not sound fun.
No, it's because she's also tasked with building the nation of Emerald Wasp. So she's a pretty dynamic character.
So me as a character, or me as an artist creating these characters for you, I'm very big on drawing females and having them look unique, but like with natural hair,
Right.
specifically, females of color. So kind of thinking of this character and her hairstyle, like I immediately knew what it was going to be. Like right after I read the description of who she was or whatnot, like I knew it was going to kind of like be this big weave of like this is her real hair,
Right. Right. That's right.
not
Yeah.
weave, but this is her actual hair, just this big lock of dreadlock, like folded and rolled it up, heavy on the front, and like a lot of free flowing hair, natural hair in the back. I want to make these female characters that look like people, but
Right.
not like anything we've seen in comic books. And I think we're getting this look in cinema and TV now, but still not getting it all the way in comic books unless you're looking at indie books or whatnot.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Andy says, ask, how did she get her mystic powers?
Well, without giving too much of the story out, she was killed basically, but she was brought back to life by a supernatural force called the Emerald Queen, and she inherited some of her abilities. From a mystical force. That's all I want to, give off for now.
Okay.
Because their stories are tied in with each other. So I don't want to give too much, because if I give too much on Emerald, it may spoil some details on Polly or the rest of the characters featured in the spot.
Okay. All right. Get that. Completely understand that.
Another thing, Mike, as I was reading Hot Shots, I noticed in the background like your clocks show different times.
Mm-hmm.
And I also include that in a lot of my writings and descriptions, because I'm big on numerology and symbolic meanings.
So how does that affect your story?
With numerology, as the story goes on, you will see that there are clues there. For example, they say death comes in 3. So there are happenings in her story that will lead one to assume that, okay, something major is about to happen to this character. And for some, death is permanent, but for others, it's a transformation.
Save myself a little time here. Those hands are pretty serious.
She looks super wonderful, and I wanted her to look like a sister. I didn't want her to look exotic. I actually wanted her to look like an African American female. And
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad I'm able to capture that for you. I definitely wanted to go for that. And I got 3 girls. I got 3 daughters, so I want to make sure that women of color look like women of color and represented well. So, outside of her skin color, I know you said it's kind of an emerald green shade for her skin color or whatnot. Does she have an alternate form? Does she go? Can she go full wasp, or is it just the hands?
it's very subtle, I would say. Her hands, but even the claws, or what I call are retractable. But her hue is more of so like an emerald wasp.
Okay.
So no, she can't fully turn into a wasp. She just inherited some of the animalistic abilities.
Of it.
Yes, like the metamorphosis, um, the reproduction, the ability to paralyze prey. But
So
other than that, she should.
go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was finished.
All right. So outside of that, I guess without encroaching on spoiler grounds, is there a reason she specifically got these powers, or was it an accident?
It was no. She was meant to have the powers because what the Emerald Queen does, which is a mystical force, she revives young women that were killed in sex trafficking or human trafficking.
Okay. So how did, again, with unless spoiler information, how did the queen take this up as her cause?
Well, the queen, if I give that away, well, in a spot we have different levels of supernatural forces competing to be you know, the devil, the supreme.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, so there's some competition out there. It's prime reality, and you have, different levels of demons wanting to take control of the spot. And so she's in competition with some of the other demons. And so even though her cause may seem humanitarian, she has her own agenda.
Okay.
She has her own agenda.
And the plot thickens.
Yes.
All right. So with Emerald specifically, what's her favorite meal? What's her favorite movie?
Her favorite movie probably would be Girlfriends. If
Okay.
her favorite show probably would be Girlfriends, I would say.
What does she like to eat? What's her favorite meal? Favorite thing to eat?
She doesn't eat, and that's it's funny you say that. She does not eat, and we'll see why as her story evolves. She
Okay.
actually does
Well,
not eat.
what about before the transformation?
Before the transformation, she was poor, she was homeless. She basically, ate scraps, whatever was
Mm.
presented to her at that time. Yeah, so before she transitioned, she experienced some heavy traumatic events, and so she was vulnerable, and that's why some of these roaches were able to prey upon her. I'm sorry, Shaggy. I saw your question earlier. I meant to answer it. Right now, I have the scripts available, but I have found an illustrator, and so this particular chapter will probably be finished by the end of the year. So right now, I don't have a finished book. Right now, I only have concepts and a script.
All right, Andy, man. Love you too. Got you later, man. Go feed the family.
Understandable, Shaggy. Thanks for tuning in.
So when you expecting the book to be out?
Right now, I'm actually finishing up a book now, which is unrelated to Minority Myth. So I expect to start working on these issues during the summer, and I'll probably have a release sometimes during the fall.
Yeah, man. Because now you got me all excited about this damn character. Now I need to see a book.
Man, now I'm super excited. I'm super excited now to even hear that coming from you.
But yeah, man, that kind of just shows like how important the story goes with the art. You need both of them in tandem for a character to be successful. And hearing like her story, like what she's going through, that's dope. Like, I mean, it's tragic, but it's a powerful story. It's a nice message. Even if it is a revenge story, even if she is by some views or whatever, the bad girl, the villain.
Right.
I think it's a great topic to tackle. I think it's something very good to go after. Um, but I'm very interested to see her, like how she handles these things, like what choices she's making.
Yes, I think her biggest challenge would be contrasting the behavior, because um, I also took in this Me Too movement that has swept the nation. So her task will also be able to distinguish between a guy that's naturally attracted to her versus a guy that's preying upon her weakness.
So how does that help? Like how does that add to the story, or what's the purpose of that?
Because she is a very attractive woman. She would have guys, what they call it dog whistling and things like that. So if a guy come up to you and approach you because they're attracted to you, is that guy preying upon you?
Okay. So kind of knowing who she can definitely attack for the right reasons.
Right, right. So that would definitely be a challenge, for her.
Oh, there's Emerald, man. There's Emerald right there.
And she looks wonderful.
I'm I may be asking for permissions to draw this character again.
She's all, yep. You have permission, bro. Once I
Hmm.
completed the story, I also made sure to send it around to a couple sisters, my sisters included, and friend girls to make sure I get their opinion. Um, and they love her.
Well, you know, I think you're gonna have a good market once you come out with the story. That like, there's a lot of women that go through this. There's a lot of families that are dealing with this. So a lot of people are gonna be able to relate to this and get behind this.
But like you said earlier, you have to find the perfect balance between the illustrations and the story. So I wouldn't want any illustrator working on this particular story here, especially if they can't relate or don't have any experience with this character's background.
Hmm. There she goes. She is super fun to
Wonderful.
draw, man.
Wonderful.
All right, I'm gonna take that off and take that off and take her off for a second. We need now. Tell us about this one. Who is
Oh,
this?
Polly. That is Polly. And I had fun writing Polly's story. And the concept actually came from the little doll Polly Pocket. So I
Really?
was like, yes. So I was like, how can I take something um fun and joyous like a Polly Pocket doll and make it as dark as possible? And that's how I came up with the concept for Polly. In the script, I titled "Nobody's Child," and I just wanted to immerse that with, some more of my experiences, or what I hear my some of my homeboys complain about, and one of the biggest issues they have when dealing with their girlfriends and children is child support.
Hmm.
So she was actually created by a disgruntled guy fed up with the child support system, and she was sent out to do his bid, but kind of developed a mind of her own, and now she just just out there wreaking havoc.
Why is she necessarily wreaking havoc?
Because she does not want to be controlled. And to me, it's a conundrum between, a mother and child fighting over the custody. I mean, the mother and the father fighting over custody of a child, but nobody ever asks the child what do they want.
Mm-hmm.
So Polly is a actualization of that child who's rebellious and just wants to go out there and make their own footprint in the world.
All right. So, what inspired this character? Like, what's the back? Like, what was the spark? What drove and made you like really create this character? Like, what was that process of you sitting down and working this character out?
Well, I was thinking about you know politics, and without giving too much away, you once I put that out there, you will see the place that she has um, in the spots, because she has very minor abilities, like very she can has a minimum control of the mind, and you only need minimum control of a mind to make a big splash in inner cities when no one, especially in places where no one thinks for themselves, and everyone depends on information that is fed to them. So a being like Polly can just go inside a place like, for say, my neighborhood Overtown, located in Miami, Florida. She could come here, and she could be the next thing to bread and water, because so much of our young generation, they are fed through social media. So she is a symbolic meaning of social media, if that makes sense. And
All right.
so,
So, do you have a
I'm sorry.
character? No, no, you're fine. Do you have a character that inspired this one, or one you can compare it to? Give our.
Yes, there was. The character don't have a name per se, but I remember as a young boy, I was watching an episode of The Bionic Woman, and in a particular episode, she faced off against these robotic like mannequins. I don't know if you ever watched The Bionic Woman growing up, but I was a big fan of that show, and the mannequins were created to go against the Bionic Woman, but they developed minds of their own and developed their own agendas. And
Mhm.
so they were a big inspiration behind Polly also.
All right. I have not seen that episode, but I'm sure we can find that on YouTube or something, and I can check that out.
Oh yes.
So I really like the idea of how you said a mannequin esque character. So I really did want to play on that as much as I could, while still giving her human esque features or whatnot.
Yeah, and I just came up with the name Polly, due to the Polly Pockets, and my mind can just have a grand imagination and grand visuals. And poly also means more than one, and it's also base word for politics. And I'm just thinking about the way politics double speak, you know,
Uh-huh.
double speak. So all of that's inspiration behind this character here.
All right. So did these two characters come from two completely different stories? Are they ever going to meet?
Yes, they will meet in a particular chapter. They would not engage, but they will be at the same happenings at the same time.
So how big is this world that you're building?
Right now I have 10. Right now I have 10 chapters, but it's a pretty big role that I plan on adding to.
So each one of these chapters features a different character.
Yeah, so each chapter would feature a different character, but some of the stories will overlap.
So what do you think of Polly so far?
Man, I'm just captivated right now.
Oh, you said you had some super. Yeah. So what's the power set for Polly? What up, Keeman?
um, just mind manipulation because she,
Mhm.
which is a play on politics.
Said she's got super strength too.
Yes. Um, Super Screen more of I would say not Wonder Woman, but more so of like a Buffy the Vampire Slayer, not godlike, but stronger than a regular human.
But would a human have the in the right environment? Could a human beat her?
Yes, especially a tech savvy human can definitely
Hmm.
defeat her.
So the person that created her, as you said, is this person going to be chasing her down, looking for her, trying to get her back?
She actually he actually dies a very um he's a goner.
He's not in the picture anymore. All right.
Nah, yeah. Yeah, hence the title "No One's Child." Like she doesn't want to be controlled. I think I heard you or Sean say a character never gets what they want, but they get what they need. So always keep that in mind, when I'm writing and developing these characters.
That's a good one. That's a real good. I like that one. Nice, Keeman. Keeman is just dropping by as he works on some comic projects. Well, yeah, Keeman, I got the pleasure of working on this for Richard, and he didn't suck me in here, and like I'm all into these characters, so I'm on the edge of my seat waiting for the comic now.
I appreciate it. Thank you for dropping by, Kenny.
Yeah,
And
man.
I think another fun feature of Polly, man, she's she's just a scary character because she also takes on the face of her last victim. She takes on the last emotion or the last facial expression of her last victim, which I think,
Really?
yes, which I think is horrifying.
And she just walks around with that one expression?
Yes, and that's one of her weaknesses, that she can't hide her expression. So that's something she's dealing with. That's one of her struggles. How can I evolve where I can hide my expressions? That's her kryptonite.
So I imagine or believe that gets her into some tight spots.
Yes.
All right, so can't ask that. So how about this question, man? When did you fall in love with comics?
I felt in love. I would say growing up as a kid in the 90s, when I would visit San Diego, California, my aunt's neighbor, he would give me whatever comics that he was done with. And the first comic he gave me was DC Wildcats. And
Okay.
there's a particular character named Bedrock.
Yeah.
And after
Yeah.
I was introduced to Bedrock, I've been reading comics ever since.
She's in the front. I'm going to need a layer in between them, made of what? When I do pieces like this, I like to draw them individual, so the individual pieces can be used for solo pieces, or you can move around and things like that.
So, question,
Here's a
Mike, or what do you think pose a greater threat? Human villains, supernatural villains, or environmental villains?
environmental villains because they can affect so
Like,
much of a wide area.
yeah, because I don't think like the Overlook Hotel. I don't think those type of villains get enough, celebration with the parts they play in these storylines.
No, they don't. Human villains can manipulate a lot of people though, but that takes time and that takes build up. But if you're talking about environmental, they can affect wide areas quickly. Well, Keenan, there she goes. Both of them,
Man, they're so
Polly
fly.
and Emerald. See if we can get a replay video here. Me sketching them out. I kind of knew off the bat kind of what I wanted to do with her, Emerald. I changed Polly up. I didn't want to make her pose as actiony as she was an android. Thanks, Keenan, man. I appreciate it. These are pretty fun characters, man.
I appreciate it.
No problem at all. Give her a close up of Emerald right there, and then Polly.
Superfly.
All right. Um, sounds like you're happy with it, Keeman. Oh, Keeman, I'm sorry, Richard. I was like right at.
No, I hear you. I hear you now. Yeah, I'm super happy with that. I'm super happy with it. Super.
All right. I'll get this emailed over to you. Let everybody know where they can find you, man. What's your social media and stuff?
I post here and there on my social Facebook, Richard Ruffin. Also on Instagram, Richard Ruffin also. But I mostly post my concepts and my projects on a website I created, so I can leave the URL in the comments below.
Okay. All right. Well, everyone, this has been another edition of Chat and Draw. I hope you all enjoyed it. You can follow me as Art of Mike Watson on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Be sure to hit the shortfusemediagroup.com website for all your comic book needs. We have t-shirts, action figures, and all kinds of cool, trendy merch there. Hit us up there. Be sure to give me a like or subscribe and a follow on the YouTube page. I have tons of content. The Chat and Draws will return next Tuesday, and we will have. I don't want to pronounce their name wrong. I'll be putting up the schedule this weekend. But again, we're booked for like the next 2 weeks. But don't let that stop you if you want to sign up for it. It's a lot of fun, and you get to have some really cool art and some free promotion from the Short Fuse Media Group and my own social media network as well. Thank you again to everybody tuning in and giving us comments and rocking out with us this Saturday afternoon. All right, everybody. See you later.
All right. Thank you.